there were just a couple of polls that came out this month about the not these specific races, but the race overall that looked at issue prominence, and guns have ranked fairly high. The Washington Post had a poll that came out. I think they were fourth in that poll as far as issues go, behind things like the economy and inflation. But I think actually the Washington Post had it above abortion, which is a bit surprising. But I think CNU's, the Wilson Center, they had a poll as well with similar findings of, in terms of issue importance. It's not the top issue in the race, but it's one of the top issues, I would think you could fairly say. So it does seem like gun policy is going to be a significant part of this equation here. Are you feeling that on the ground?
Yeah, I am. Gun owners are fed up with all the bad stuff that we've been dealing with for several years now. And I think that hopefully they're going to be motivated to get out and let's get this thing fixed. If you look at the elections that happened for the House when it was up a couple of years ago, that took the House was taken away from the Democrats. They controlled the House and the Senate in 2019, 2020, and 2021. The House was taken away. The Senate wasn't up. So there's no way to rate what would have happened had the Senate been up as well, like it is this year. So I think that's an interesting indicator there, probably, of the sentiment on this issue.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point, right? You had a lot of energy, obviously grassroots energy, back in 2020. It feels like a lifetime ago because that was like one of the last big political things before COVID happened. But you had a lot of grassroots energy, and it did seem to turn into electoral success for Republicans at the time. But it has been several years now. Do you think that energy is going to remain?
That's what's hard to predict. I think to some degree there's a lot of lethargy in the state, but it seems to be everywhere. I don't know if it's all the people went through with COVID that I don't know what it is, but we're hoping that gun owners stay as motivated in 2023 as they were a couple of years ago to try to get things turned around.
The Washington Post poll does have Republicans winning on this issue by a slim margin, but they do have them ahead on gun policy, who voters trust to handle gun policy better. So, it does seem that perhaps that displeasure at those reforms that were passed in 2020 does remain, at least from that one poll. And you don't want to draw too much to it from a single poll, but you don't get a whole lot of polling in these sorts of state races. So you kind of got to work with what you got. How are you on the ground? What are some of the actions that you guys are taking with BCL, with the PAC that you guys have to try and, up that enthusiasm?
Yeah, well, the PAC has now gotten involved in not only the General Assembly, but also local things that involve guns. Your city councils, town councils, things of that nature, and they've made a big push to do a lot of endorsements all the way around to get people out to the polls to vote in all these elections, even school boards, because they now can control gun policy to some degree on their own property. VCDL has been pushing vote, vote, vote. That's something we've been pushing over and over and over, and we'll continue to push till the election's over. We've been saying, a lot of people don't like this early voting where there's a 45 days to vote as opposed to an election day. We've pointed out to our members that, nope, if that's the way it is, then we need to take advantage of it. We need to use that change in law to our advantage by getting out early and getting our votes locked down. And not waiting till the day of the election when, who knows, another COVID outbreak could start and the polls are shut down or whatever. Vote now while you can. You never know. You could be sick on that day. You could be out of town. So we're really pushing that, trying to get people to vote early. And many of them aren't used to it, but I think they'll get used to it.
Okay. And what are you seeing from other gun groups, both on either side? Every town has announced they're going to be spending significantly again in this election cycle. I don't know if they're going to get back to the levels they were in in 2019, but they've already announced, I think, a $1.1 million ad buy in a House race that includes advertising and I believe get out the vote efforts. So what have you seen from the gun control groups to this point?
Well, all I've seen on like local television is the gun control being mentioned by the Democrats is one of the many issues. They don't tend to just focus on that. But I haven't seen a whole lot on the ground from them, but I'm sure there's the ads are probably waiting shortly before closer to the elections to really come out in force. Yeah, they've got a lot of money behind them. I don't know if they have a strong grassroots base at all. We consider it AstroTurf, but they have money, and with that, you can buy a lot of things.
Sure. How does it compare what you've seen so far to 2019 when I believe they were making record investments in trying to elect Democrats?
Well, you haven't seen that kind of stuff. In 2019, you actually had the governor coming out and saying, well, we're thinking about confiscating AR-15s and we're definitely thinking about banning them and blah, blah, blah. You don't hear that sort of strong rhetoric. What you typically hear is, this candidate is a MAGA candidate and has voted, to whatever. They come up with whatever, some kind of a vote thing, but it's not nearly as strong as it was in 2019.
Okay. And what about other gun rights groups? Obviously, there's been a lot going on with the NRA over the last couple of years. Have you? They had recently posted on their Institute for Legislative Action page that they're doing sort of grassroots efforts, door knocking, things like that. Have you seen a difference in their availability, the resources that they have at their disposal for this race?
I know that we've, I've personally seen postcards from them encouraging early voting and endorsing in the case where I live, Glenn Sturdivant. And I believe our PAC has endorsed him as well. But they've been pushing the early voting apparently.
Mm-hmm. Are you concerned at all about any lack of resource? Like, what are your major concerns going into this election? Do you see the same level of financial resources on the gun rights side that you're used to? Or are you seeing the same level of grassroots, door knocking and things of that nature? Are you guys able to produce that same level that you've had in years past?
Actually, well, maybe years past, but not matching what happened in 2019.
Is that just because 2019 was a gubernatorial election and this is?
I think the strong push for gun control by the governor back then really lit up gun rights, gun owners. And so the PAC had very large contributions coming in. This year, it seems to be that all the various organizations that are like gun rights and some of the others that are I would say, I don't want to say we're a conservative organization, but that does tend to be where most of your support comes from.
Sure.
That a lot of the organizations are vying for the same money from the same people. So you're not seeing money at the same level that we saw back in 2019. So we don't have the same resources. We have less resources right now than we had in 2019. Of course, our main resources is DCDL is our membership, getting out and getting them to vote, getting them to call, send emails, things like that.